We have the honor to be here with King Cameron, professor at the Ross School of Michigan, and believe it or not, is also my favorite researcher.
Francisco, it's such a delight to be with you. Thank you.
My pleasure. Why don't you tell us what you actually do at the Ross School?
So, at the Ross School of Business, I am on the faculty, I'm a professor. I teach MBA, Master of Business Administration students. And the other part of my experience, the other part of my load is executive education, non-degree, week-long programs. So that's my teaching responsibility. My research responsibility has to do with investigating positive phenomena as part of the Center for Positive Organizations. It's a positive organization scholarship track.
One question I want to ask to King Cameron is, what has been your favorite, the job or the position you loved most in your entire career?
That's a really good question. So the position I think I've loved the most is what I'm doing right now. When I was young, really when I was an undergraduate, I was exposed to a professor that changed my life. He was Harvard educated. His committee members were the most luminary scholars in the world in their field. He was their fair-haired boy. He came out of that PhD program. Everybody expected him to be this incredible scholarly contributor. As it turns out, he dedicated his life to simply teaching. He wrote, but only for teaching purposes. And so I literally remember him asking for the largest classroom on campus, and he wanted to fill it with as many students as he could fill it with. I became his teaching assistant, and I was a TA in classes that held 600, 700, 800 people. And it was all live. He taught live and changed people's lives. I can remember somebody coming to me saying, his name was Reed. Thank heaven for Reed, he said. I was literally near suicide until I got exposed to Reed, and it's changed my whole life. Well, I thought, okay, that's what I want to do. I want to just teach and be exposed to students. What I learned, however, is that I could get exposed to 100 students in a classroom, but if I wrote, I could get exposed to 1,000 people who would read, whom I will never meet. So what I like most is teaching, and especially writing, doing research that matters.
That's interesting. You often talk how this relates with the kind of talk, the kind of idea of energizing and de-energizing. Does this work energizes you, or?
Yes. So it has not been very many years when we began doing research on this topic of positive energy. And the reason is positive energy wasn't even known, it wasn't even a concept until the last, say, decade. So, and it takes a little while to do research and to learn about a topic. So there have been very few articles written, but so far the findings in these articles have been positive energy matters a lot in predicting performance of organizations and in predicting the well-being of the employees. And the thing that's so amazing about that is that it exists, but hardly anybody acknowledges it exists. There's this resource not even managed in organizations. So that's kind of energizing for me. It makes a big difference.
A question I want to ask you about energizers and de-energizers. Is there any research for? Is there a stereotype or a person that is an energizer?
Good question. There is not a stereotypical person who's an energizer. See, when you use that word positive energizer, people often have in their mind someone who's high in physical energy and or smiles all the time, or is gregarious, or is in some way charismatic, or in some way is simply attractive. Turns out those factors are actually not particularly related to what we refer to as relational energy. The extent to which Francesco energizes me is not the extent to which he is gregarious and charismatic and all those kind of things. Rather, it has to do more with how he makes me feel, the extent to which he helps me flourish, the extent to which he helps be a problem solver rather than a problem creator, the extent to which he makes me feel like a valued human being, the extent to which he provides meaning and perspective, and so on. There are a variety of attributes that we've discovered are predictive of being a positive energizer. One of them isn't just being gregarious and outgoing.
You recently mentioned in your talk that we're born with our DNA as humans, we are inclined to the positive, and since we are a few months old. But we also born with a negative bias for survival reasons. How they compete with each other, or how it works?
So I refer to something as a paradox in positive organization scholarship and positive psychology. Here's the paradox. On the one hand, human beings, all living systems, but especially human beings, are attracted to the positive. They flourish in the presence of the positive. Lots and lots of evidence, physiological evidence, emotional evidence, social evidence, that that's true. We flourish in the presence of the positive. On the other hand, as you've mentioned, for psychological and survival reasons, we also have an inclination toward avoiding the negative. That is, there's a paradox between attraction to positive, attraction to negative, or paying attention to negative. So how do we reconcile that seeming paradox? Here's how. From the time we were small, we learned, pay attention to negative feedback, pay attention to negative phenomena, because they could be dangerous, they could threaten our lives. So very, very early on, we learned that. Our mothers had to tell us, don't run into the street. We didn't know that automatically. I mean, I didn't know a car would run over me if I ran into the street, but I pretty soon learned that. I didn't know if I put my hand on a stove, it would burn, but I learned that pretty fast. So what happens from a very small age, I learned avoid negative things. They could be dangerous, they could harm me. So I became so programmed, so socialized into worrying about the negative that over time in my life, I ended up not only ignoring the positive, but actually negatively defining the positive. I now call it soupy, syrupy, touchy-feely, saccharine sweet, naivete, and so on. So we have to remind people that inherent in their DNA is in fact a tendency toward the positive and the opportunity to flourish. So now we're essentially retraining people to pay attention to what's inherent already in the human system.
Changing topic, Positive Psychology Directory is a place to share information and to connect with people. So what's your view on connections and relationships?
So, a great question, because relationships matter a lot, as you know. I mean, I mentioned some research that I first learned about from a person named Sarah Preston, who said the following. If you're significantly overweight, probability of dying early is 20%. If you're an excessive drinker, alcohol, probability of dying early is 30%. If you're a smoker, tobacco, probability of dying early is 50%. If you are in bad, poor, unhelpful social relationships, probability of dying early is 70%. That is, it affects longevity, it affects health more than the normal factors that we consider, we not normally manage. So having positive relationships in our lives matters a lot in terms of simply physical health, not to mention the performance of organizations. We know that flourishing positive relationships are among the single most important factors in predicting the success of an organization. If my people are fighting, if they're not getting along, or if they're isolated, if they're negatively energizing one another, I'll almost guarantee that the organization will not flourish. So it's a big factor in helping systems, not to mention people, do their best.
So stay on organization that flourish. What's your advice to business people, employers, just drawing from positive psychology interventions, just one interventions that you recommend?
Mm-hmm. So I don't have any magic bullets for recommending how organization can flourish. So I don't know any magic bullets. I don't know any factors that solve all problems. And there's a lot of research in positive psychology that highlights some practices that really work. For example, almost everybody knows about gratitude journals. Keeping track of the best thing that happened today or the things for which you're grateful matters. It actually changes physiology. We have also developed several tools, one of which has to do with fostering meaning or profound purpose. We know that if people can find meaning and profound purpose, matters a lot. Performance is significantly changed. We've also developed a tool called the Reflected Best Self feedback process. So when I do surveys in organizations, especially surveys of leadership, and then hand people feedback, almost always the tendency is look at the low scores, look at where you're not doing so well, try to raise those scores. So we've developed a supplement to that to try to help people focus on their strengths or on their best qualities, their best strengths. Reflected best self-feedback. So what we do is we ask people to identify 20 people in their lives who know them well, who have some kind of relationship with them. And then we ask them to request of those people that they write 3 short stories or 3 paragraphs, responding to the question, when you have seen me add unique value, when you have seen me at my very best, what strengths do I display? When you've seen me really contribute, what is it you've seen me do? So I get back 60 stories from these 20 people, 3 each. And now it's all positive feedback. It's at my very best from the standpoint of other people. So we take people through a process where they analyze the reflected best self. And then they create a best self portrait. Here's what I am when I am at my very best. Here's how I can capitalize it, and so on. That is, there are a bunch of tools, techniques that can be implemented in organizations.
So how can we be at our very best at our work? What's the reason, in your opinion, there are people that stay on the task, they finish on time, and they stay on budget, and while others, or probably majority, I should say, they don't?
So we have a former doctoral student, got her PhD at my university, the University of Michigan. Her doctoral dissertation asked the question, how do people define their work? Kind of a boring question, but the answer was wonderful, and it spawned almost a whole subfield in organization science. Here's what she discovered. Some people define their work as a job. Give me the assignment, give me the responsibility, I've signed up, I'll do it. Question is, how do you manage those people? Answer, financial capital, pay them. Some people define their work as a career. I want to move up, I want to get promoted, I want to be popular, I want to expand my repertoire, I want to get smarter, and so on. It's a career, and I want to move up. The question is, how do you manage those people? Answer, social capital, intellectual capital. Teach them things, give them assignments, challenge them, promote them, put them on teams, and so on. Third, some people define their work as a calling. That's kind of a religious word, but the idea is, I've been uniquely prepared to do something. It's more meaningful than just my reward. What I'm doing is far more important to me than just getting a paycheck, being popular, getting promoted, whatever. How do you manage those people? Answer, ideological capital. You highlight the profound purpose, the meaningfulness, the legacy being created, the value that outlasts your lifetime. All right. The people who, and there are people in all 3 categories, which is fine. Everybody doesn't have to have a calling, or everybody doesn't have to be worried about promotion. It takes all kinds. But the highest level of performance in organizations will be people who can find that profound purpose. And the task doesn't matter. We've done studies of hospital custodians, healthcare workers, who they're cleaning up blood and vomit and stuff, saying, I believe my job is at least as important as a physician, maybe more so, because I'm helping people heal, I'm helping them flourish, I'm helping them feel like I care deeply about them. That's at least as important as the guy who comes in and puts a needle in your arm. So it's not the nature of the task, it's the way you decide to define it in terms of, boy, this is more important than just the paycheck.
Definitely. Kim Cameron, I believe, in my opinion, is like one of those person that is an energizer. Like I think everyone wants to be around Kim Cameron. And how do you manage, like in a so busy world, say yes to everyone among your projects? What I want to ask you here is like, what's the most exciting thing that you're working on right now?
So I have to tell you very sincerely that I get energy from people like you, Francisco, because we've been trying to meet now for several hours, finally got a chance to meet, and it's just a delight. I'm uplifted. I mean, you're an energizer for me, regardless of the, the physical activities and the statements you make. There's an energy that exudes from you. That's part of the thing that makes me, it gives life to me. It makes life worth living. The kinds of things that I'm doing research on right now have to do with the energy topic, positive energy, positive leadership. How do you get leaders to be more effective? Because leaders are the single most powerful predictor of performance. Strategy matters, culture matters, processes matter. But if all of those are in place without a good leader, they will not do well. So leaders matter. So I've been trying to understand, well, what is it about leaders that matters so much? One of them is energy, but not the only thing. And in addition to that, I've been studying and really cared deeply about what I refer to as organizational virtuousness. Meaning, how do you get organizations to embed in their culture, in their processes, compassion toward one another, high levels of trust, forgiveness for errors and mistakes rather than grudges or punishment, high levels of integrity, and so on. So what I've discovered, what many others have discovered too, is that when you embed virtuousness in a system, performance goes up, even profits go up, which is normally not expected to happen. So those are the kind of areas of interest.
If you just have to give away one piece of advice to the listeners, how to be more satisfied with their job, what would you say?
So I would say that the best way to become more satisfied with the job is to find ways to contribute to the benefit of somebody or something else. What we know from research is that contribution is a better predictor of performance and well-being than the receipt of reward. So you can think of two different kinds of outcomes. Achievement, I get a reward, I get notified, I get a pay raise, I get my picture on the wall. The other is contribution. I've made a difference. I've contributed to something and I hope to get better. And then when you use those two outcomes, or those two sets of goals, for example, and use them to predict outcomes, contribution is a better predictor of positive outcomes than receipt. So if I were going to give advice to somebody, among all the things you do, find something to contribute, something to give that makes a difference to somebody else for which you don't get a reward.
It was absolutely a pleasure. Kim Cameron.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You're terrific.